Welcome to Introspection IS. So, as a series, we have started the discussion of previous year polity questions topic wise. So, in this series, we are going to start the next topic, that is historical background questions were asked in previous year questions. UPSC has asked from this topic. Now, under this topic, we will be focusing more on a act after the 1858 Act. So, under the Crown Rule, we are not going to focus on a regulating or a company rule act, that is from 1773 to 1853. Rather, we will be more focusing on 1858 Act from. Why? Because that part is not more concerned with the historical perspective, not with terms of the constitutional formations in the government. That is more important for our purpose, that is for the polity and constitution, is from 1858 Act. So we will be discussing from the 1858 Act. So let's start the discussions. So here we are going to discuss, as we have discussed, that historical background, and under the historical background we are going to discuss an act from 1858 to 1947 Act. That is from the Good Governance Act to India Independence Act. Now the first questions which was asked in 2024. So it says that with reference to the Government of India Act 1935, consider the following statement. First, that Act provide for the establishment of all India federation systems based on the union of British Indian province and the princely state. Yes, it is true. So there is an all India federation has to become, an all India federation system has to become, which comprises of British India plus Indian state. Indian state or princely state, which we can say that princely state. So this is true. Now second, defense and foreign affairs were kept under the control of federal legislature. So this is more basically related to fact, we can say that. Now this historical background where more we focused on a fact rather than concept. So we need to remember the fact about the act. So this is not true. This has not been put under the federal legislature. Clear? Now, if we see that which one of the state is a statement given above is or are correct, so only one is true, that is first. Now, if we go to the Government of India Act 1935, which says that provide for the establishment of all India Federation consists of provinces, that is British province and princely state as an units. Now this act, if we see, though the All India Federation was provided by this act by 1935, which comprises the British India, and they are been mandatory for them, that British India have to join the All India federal systems. But this Indian state or a princely state is not been mandatory, but they are it up to their discretions. So we can say that the Indian states or princely state were with discretion. So if they want, they can join the All India federations. And because of this non-binding nature on princely state, they do not join the All India federation. So this All India federations not came into being. Because Indian states not join it. Yeah, because of this, the All India Federation does not came. So the act divided the power between center and units in three list: federal list comprises of 59 items, provincial list for the provinces comprises of 54 items, and concurrent list for both, that is with the 36 items. Diarchy was introduced at the central level. Key subjects like defense, foreign affairs were under the direct control of Governor General. They are not under the control of federal legislations. Clear? And this is a part of diarchy. Diarchy means double government. Double government. So diarchy at center introduced by 1935 Act. Clear? So this is the first questions. Now if we move to the next questions, next question asked in 2022. So it says that in a Government of India Act 1919, the function of provincial government were divided into reserve and transfer subject. Which of the following were treated as a reserve subjects? So this transfer of reserve subject is a features of a diarchy. Right? So this by 1919 diarchy was introduced at the provincial level. And in 1935, this diarchy was introduced at central level. Right? So these two subjects were divided. The subjects functions was divided reserved and transfer subject. Right. So there are certain subjects which kept under the reserve. So this reserve subject was to be administered by the governor of a province with the executive. Right. And these executives are not responsible or answerable to legislature. Whereas the subject matter which comes under the transferred subject, so that is to be administered by governor with the ministers, with the help of ministers, and these ministers are responsible to legislation. Clear? So this is a concept between the reserve and transfer subjects. Now it asks which of the following were treated as a reserve subjects. So administration of justice, local self-government, land revenue, and police. So out of these, local self-government comes under the transfer subject, and rest of the subject were reserved for the governor. So our answer is 1, 3 and 4. The second is not the correct answers. Clear? Now this is, as I said, this historical background is will be based on a factual based questions. So you need to go through the act. So the Government of India Act 1919, also known as a Montague-Chelmsford Reform, divided legislative subjects into two categories, reserves and transfer subject. The reserve subjects were administered by governor through his executive council of bureaucracy and not responsible to, as we have seen, not responsible to legislature. The transfer subjects were administered by ministers nominated from the elected members of legislative councils, and they are responsible to council. Right? The reserve subjects in Government of India Act 1919 were law and order, finance, land revenue, irrigations, administrative of justice and police, whereas the transfer subjects include education, health, local government, industry, agriculture and exercise. So these are the transfer subjects given to the governor, which is to be administered by the ministers from council with the help of governor. Okay? Let's move to the next questions. The next question was asked in 2021. Now consider the following statement. The Montague-Chelmsford Reform of 1919 recommended granting voting rights to all women above the age of 21. This is false. This was not done by the 1919. And there is not any universal. First thing we need to understand that there is no universal voting rights given under British. The voting rights under British were given under certain specific conditions. So first is false. Incorrect. If we see the second, the Government of India Act 1935 gave women reserved seats in the legislature. No, this is also not true. This is false or incorrect. It is not providing any reservations to the women. So we need to find a correct. So our answer is D. That is neither one nor two is correct. If you see the Government of India Act 1919, which says that Government of India Act 1919 expands the provincial legislative council with 70% of members elected, but key limitations persist. The diarchy was implemented in 8 provinces, including Assam, Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Central Province, United Province, Bombay, Madras and Punjab. Women are granted right to vote, but not universal positions. Legislative council could propose legislation, but the governor's approval was required. The governor can veto bill and issue ordinance. The legislative council may reject the budget, but the governor has authority to restore if necessary. That is the power given more to the governor in provinces. Now, if you see the Government of India Act 1935, key provision that reshaped the constitutional framework of British India, that first All India Federation's combination of British province, Indian states, provincial autonomy, provinces were given autonomy, bicameral legislations, established a bicameral legislation at a provincial level in some provinces like Madras, Bombay, Bengal, United Province, Bihar and Assam, consisting of Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council. Division of power. The Government of India Act 1935 divided powers between centre and provincial government into three lists: federalist, provincialist and concurrent list. Federalist comes exclusively under the central control, covering defence, foreign affairs and communications. Provincialist solely under the provincial jurisdictions, including police, public health, agriculture. Concurrent list shared authority between centre and provincial government, covering subjects like criminal laws and marriages. Now the Viceroy retain control over unspecified subject, that is, we can say that residuary power. So residuary power according to 1935 Act is based on to Viceroy, right? Subject to protect British India, but the proposed federation failed as many princely states refused to join. As we have seen, that federation has not been come into being. Expansion of franchises, that is of voting rights. So voting rights were extended to approximately 30 million people, roughly 10% of the populations. And this has been at the behest of the extension was based on criteria of the property, education, income, which significantly increased the electorate compared to previous reforms. So there is no universal adult franchise introduced by the Britishers. Rather, the voting rights were extended on the basis of certain criteria like property, education and income. Clear? Let's move to the next questions. So next questions, Montague-Chelmsford reform was asked in 2016. So Montague-Chelmsford reform related to that is talking about the Act of 1919. Does it reform to social reforms? No. Education reforms? No. Reform in police administration? No. It is a constitutional reform because it has a provincial autonomy, providing a provincial diarchy was established, tried to establish having a transfer, and as we have seen, transfer and reserve subjects. It is in giving power to voting rights and everything that we have already discussed in the previous questions. So if you see, the Government of India Act 1919 was a legislative framework designed to reform British India's governance. It was based on Montague-Chelmsford reform, which was drafted by Edwin Montague, the Secretary of State for India, and Chelmsford, Viceroy of India at that time. The primary goal of the Act was to introduce more responsible form of government in India by increasing Indian participation in administrative machinery while retaining ultimate authority within the British Crown. The Act established a dual government structure, that is diarchy at the provincial level and more inclusive legislative form. Now this dual government means certain subjects were transferred and certain subjects were reserved under this. Clear? So this is an constitutional reform, main proposal of the Chelmsford reform. Let's move to the next question. So next question was asked in 2015. So Government of India Act 1919 clearly defined the separation of power between judiciary and legislature. No. The jurisdiction of central and provincial government? Yes, through the reserve and transferred subject. So this is the answer. The power of Secretary of State for India and the Viceroy, it is also not correct. Clear? So if you see the Government of India Act 1919, which is also known as Montague-Chelmsford reform, divided legislative subject two categories, reserved and transfer subject. The reserved subjects were administered by governor through his executive council of bureaucracy. The transfer subjects were administered by ministers nominated from elected members of councils. and these bureaucrats were not responsible, and they are responsible to council or legislature. They are not responsible to legislature. Okay? So the reserved subjects in the Government of India Act 1919 were law and order, finance, land revenue, irrigations, administration of justice or police. Transfer subjects include education, health, local government, industry, agriculture and exercise. So this is also repeated. So in this we have seen that till 2024, the main questions from the historical background were asked from 1919 or 1935, which is an important of the act. Clear? So by this we have come to an end to our historical background also. Hope you like the videos, hope helps in your preparations. Thank you. Please like, subscribe and comment, and also share with your friends, other aspirants. Ask them to visit the channel. Thank you.